Hello, curling fans, and welcome back to another edition of Broom Brothers, the official podcast of the Grand Slam of Curling and the Curling Group, and it is a very special edition of the Broom Brothers. We're making history here today on the podcast, and I couldn't do it by myself, couldn't make the history by myself, so pleased to be joined by two-time Olympic gold medalist and one of the members of the TCG competition committee, John Morris, is here. Hi, John. Thank you so much for being here. And right away, I guess it would help if you explained what the hell you and I are both doing here.
Yeah, good to see you, Johnny. Thanks for having me on today, pal. We're doing the first ever GSOC draft for our Grand Slam we're having in London. We're pretty excited about it. It's just something different we're trying, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do it with you on the podcast.
Yeah, I love it. So this is for the Masters in London. We are going to be drawing which teams end up in which pools. And I know last year, John, we experimented at the Masters in Guelph, actually, where we had the skips draft which teams ended up in their pool. The format today, however, looking a little bit different. How did we land on this format? What is the format? Tell me a little bit about exactly what this draft is going to look like.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that one last year, but we found out there was something logistically that was challenging that we might try to avoid in the future, and that was trying to get 8 skips on a Zoom call from all different parts of the world was a bit of a challenge. So what we decided this year, and actually I got to give Hammy Jr. some credit on this one, my Scottish friend there, he ended up, we were looking for some ideas from the players. We wanted to try to refreshen some things, and he thought he sent along a message like, "Hey, why don't we consider doing the draft for the Slam pools the same way that they draft like Euro and World Cup pools in soccer?" So we looked at that a little bit more, and actually it's a pretty awesome way to do it. It's balanced. There's no bias, which is great. It's a random lottery draft for each pot. And it just creates a bit more excitement rather than just, here are the teams and they're based on, the pools are just based on your rankings strictly. It kind of adds the new element to it. So we thought we'd do it live on the podcast today, and excited about how it's going to roll out.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. Like you said, I think the players will be excited about this format. I think we know that sometimes the rankings over the course of the season can kind of stay a little locked in place, and so you end up with some teams playing each other a lot more over the course of a season, and then maybe not playing some other teams throughout the course of the season as well. So I do love the random nature of it. I do love that seeding still matters. We will get into exactly the format and how that's all going to work in a second. But before we get there, I think a lot of fans don't really know this, but behind the scenes with the curling group, I introduced you off the top as a member of the competition committee. What is that? Like, who is on it? What are you guys talking about? Because I think it's a bit of a foreign concept. There hasn't really existed before with the Grand Slam. So tell me and the fans about the competition committee and some of the things that you guys are kind of doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, the competition committee is something we started kind of into last season, and we feel it's been great. It's been a great addition to the slams. One of the things that was happening in the past was that there was a lot of these decisions that was pretty much on one guy, and it was Pierre, and he's been kind of the guy for the slams for almost 20 years, and he's made some really had made some great changes to the slams, and but it's tough when you're the only guy, and let's be honest, sometimes curlers complain about things, and as much
sometimes
as if there's a will, there's a way, right? So essentially, we wanted to take a little bit of heat off Pierre. So we thought that having four curling brains was a little bit better than just one, and we created this curling committee that's Pierre Charette, myself, Jennifer Jones, and Brent Lang, and it's facilitated by Christy. Who she's like the behind the scenes guru of the slams that probably a lot of people don't know about. But this just gives us, we usually meet once or every week or two when it comes to things like format, rankings, new initiatives, things like that. The competition committee is kind of the, a way around coming to a good educated decision, getting 4 curling heads in a room and coming up with something that we think makes a lot of sense and is fair for the curlers. So it's been great, fun to work with, and this is something we came up with that we thought would be kind of a good addition to this year's slams.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think, as you said, things are already kind of changing in the way that the slams are being run. And I think a lot of those changes are being received positively by the players. And I think, too, we speak about Pierre, obviously was a high level curler, but has been kind of out of the competitive game for a while. So I feel like adding 3 players who have just recently retired, who are all still kind of very familiar with how the slams operate, how the World Curling Tour season operates, where we fit into all of that. I feel like that's also a positive as well.
Yeah, you know what? It's been some great meetings. Sometimes, there's some differences of opinion in there, but it's nice that we always find a good common goal and conclusion together. And you just wait and see. We're going to be rolling out some cool things this year. We won't get into it, I guess, on this podcast. I think that might be for another podcast, but there's going to be some cool stuff coming out and some pretty fun formats that, we're still keeping the tradition of curling and the integrity in the game, but we also realize that we want to make sure that the next generation and the younger demographic really enjoys this game of curling and can pick up onto it. And so you'll see some great stuff coming out, John. I think you'll be excited, and you'll get to broadcast it and talk about it on your podcast. So it'll be some more ammo for you, pal. Some more fuel.
Hey, I love it. I mean, we started last year. We got Broomgate 2.0 or Foamgate or whatever you want to call it. We got the TCG taking over the slams. We got the first All-Star game. Now it sounds like this year there's going to be a lot of new things introduced, and of course we have Rock League coming up as well in the new year. So yeah, definitely exciting for me to be a part of it, and it's nice to have a lot to talk about. And as you said, I think it's something the fans love too, right? Like, that's one of the things we had heard about the slams for a long time, was that they all kind of looked the same, right? When you think of tennis, you think of golf, right? Golf is able to go to different courses. The Masters is the same place every year, but the US Open and the PGA and the British Open change. In tennis, you've got the clay court, the grass court, the hard court. Whereas I think curling, for a long time, one of the things the fans said was, a lot of these events kind of look the same. And so I'm sure they're excited to hear that, this is something you are thinking about, and the competition committee is thinking about, sort of maybe coming up with ways to separate these events from one another.
You betcha. There's going to be definitely a few new formats. I wouldn't say we're moving mountains in Grand Slam of curling, because that's our audience for that, for the most part right now, is still your North American and your Canadian audience. So we want to make sure we keep our traditional curling hands happy for that, for the most part. But this Rock League, I tell you, it's going to be, we've been working on this format for the last probably 6 months to a year, and I just wish I was still curling, because this would have been so much fun to.
Hey, it's never too late, Johnny. It's never too late. Draft yourself.
Well, there's a chance I'm actually curling in a Bondsfield this year. So I know
little teaser right there.
Little teaser, yeah. And we're really excited about what we're doing. Nick has a great energy and a great vision, and I think he trusts the curling minds in the group to kind of help that vision come to life. And it's been really exciting. I'm pretty proud to be part of it.
Love it. Likewise, also very proud to be a part of it. And I know the fans are eagerly anticipating the draft. We're going to start with the women as I Vanna White my whiteboard here. If you're not watching this on YouTube, first of all, you should be. But second of all, I will do my best to explain what is going on the screen. So here's how this draft will work. We have the teams divided by what we're calling pots. And so this is basically, these groups of 4 seeds cannot end up in the same pool. And it goes by world ranking from 1 to 16. So pot 1 has world number 1, Rachel Homan, world number 2, Silvana Tiranzoni, number 3, Anna Hasselborg, and number 4, Eunjung Kim. So those 4 teams cannot end up in the same pool together, and that will be true of all of the pots moving across. So in pot 2, we have number 5, Carrie Anerson, number 6, Eunji Kim, number 7, Satsuki Fujisawa, and number 8, Sayaka Yoshimura. In pot number 3, we have number 9, Momoha Tabata, Sung Yoon Ha at number 10, Xenia Schwaller at 11, and Isabella Vrano at number 12. And then in pot 4, we've actually got quite a few sort of newer teams to the Tier 1 Grand Slams. We've got Kayla Skurlik at number 13, making their Grand Slam debut, the Chinese team Rui Wang at number 14, Christina Black at number 15, and Stefania Constantini of Italy rounds it out at number 16. So how this is going to work, John has his trusty bingo wheel tumbler over there. He is going to pull a number from 1 to 16 out of that bingo tumbler. When that number comes out, it will go into the leftmost pool that is allowed by the pot. So, for example, if the first number out of the bingo tumbler is number 5, that's Carrie Anerson, she would go into pool A. If the next number that John pulls out is also from pot 2, so let's say he pulls out Satsuki Fujisawa's number 7, then Fujisawa would go to pool B. So it's the leftmost pool that they are eligible to go in without ending up in the same pool as their pot. That will give us our 4 pools of 4. And John, start us off. This is some legendary stuff we have going on here.
Okay.
It's the very first time, so let's make it happen.
First, I got to say, dude, if this podcasting doesn't work out, you should be like an international communicator, because your pronunciation of those names, I would have butchered those so much worse than that. So I got to say, you might have.
Hey, I work on it. I'm a broadcaster. We got to get it right. We got to get it right.
Impressive. All right, so we're starting here. Number 1, first pool. We got number 3. The number
3. So that's Anna Hasselborg. So Anna Hasselborg will be kicking us off in pool A.
All right.
So now, if another team is drawn from pot 1, they would go to pool B. Go ahead, John.
Okay. All right, another one from pot 1. The number 1 seed. I believe that's Homan, isn't it?
That is, of course, yes. It has been for quite a while now. Rachel Homan will be in pool B. All right.
Okay, let's keep it going here. You'd think these would be mixed up a little bit better, but we got the 4th seed. So we got number 4 seed in pool C.
Okay, so right now we've got Anna Hasselborg in pool A, Rachel Homan in pool B, and Eunjung Kim in pool C.
What are the chances this is 3?
Is it actually?
No, we got 11. We got an 11 seed.
11. Okay, so that will be Xenia Schwaller will be joining Anna Hasselborg in pool A.
Awesome. Okay, and number 12.
Okay, so that's Isabella Vrano will be joining Rachel Homan in pool B.
All right, and we got the 5 seed next.
Okay, so that's Carrie Anerson will be joining Hasselborg and Xenia Schwaller in pool A.
That pool's coming together now, eh?
And dare I say, tough pool already. Anna Hasselborg, Xenia Schwaller, Carrie Anerson.
Yeah, that's so far the pool of death.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't have anyone in pool D yet, so that's hard to compare. Okay, number 16.
Okay, number 16, Stefania Constantini, and they are the first team out of pot 4. So we now have a completed pool A.
A lot of Europeans in there, eh?
Yep. So pool A will be Anna Hasselborg, Xenia Schwaller, Carrie Anerson, and Stefania Constantini.
Okay. Next, we have lucky number 13.
All right, 13, Kayla Skurlik is the second team out of pot 4, so they will be moving over to pool B to join Homan and Vrano.
Okay. And then we have number 10.
Number 10, Sung Yoon Ha. So they're the third team out of pot 3, so they will join their country mates, Eunjung Kim, in pool C. There's actually a way we could end up with all 3 Korean teams in one pool here still.
All right. How about we've got number 2 here now, B2.
Okay, number 2. So Tirinzoni, as we already knew, was going to end up in Pool D. Beautiful.
And then next is number 8.
Okay, so number 8, Sayaka Yoshimura, which does make a completed Pool B.
So 2 pools complete now.
2 pools complete. Pool B will be Rachel Homan, Isabella Vrano, Kayla Skurlik, and Sayaka Yoshimura.
Okay, now number 6 is next.
Okay,
60.
so that is going to see all 3 Korean teams end up in the same pool. So that's fun. Eunji Kim joining her countrywomen Kim and Ha in Pool C.
Pretty good chance those are the morning games. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good shout. Yes.
All right, number 15.
Okay, 15 is Christina Black, and that will make a completed Pool C. So Pool C will be the 3 Korean teams, Kim, Ha, and Gim, joined by Team Nova Scotia from last year's Scotties, Christina Black. And so, John, I'll just get you to pull the numbers out just so everybody knows, but we do have, by virtue, a completed Pool D as well, which will have Momoha Tabata in it, Satsuki Fujisawa, and Rui Wong. But if you could just pull out those numbers so everybody knows, it should be number 7, number 9, and number 14.
Yeah, we got 7 here. These last ones are a little tricky. There we go. And then number 9. And number 8.
All right. So there you have it. Those are the completed pools. John, we'll go with some quick analysis here. Let's start with Pool A. You had kind of already deemed it the pool of death. We've got Anna Hasselborg, Xenia Schwaller, Carrie Anerson, Stefania Constantini. What are your initial thoughts there?
Well, I think that it's going to be a really interesting year because it's the Olympic year. So everyone's kind of ramped up their off-season training. I'm kind of looking to see how Constantini kind of bounces back from. They had a tough season last year, and I think they didn't even make a few slams. And then the year before, they were, one of the best teams of the whole year and one of the biggest surprises. So I'm looking forward to see how they bounce back, especially since Italy's hosting the games. I bet they're going to come out strong in London. It's kind of my bet. So I think that's going to be. I think you're going to have a lot of tight games in that pool.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is what happens with pot draws when you see, you said you were inspired by the World Cup and the Euros. There are teams that fall down in the world rankings that are typically traditional powers, and that's usually how you end up with the so-called group of death, which is kind of how I feel it has ended up here. Because, yeah, as you said, I believe going into the first slam last year, Stefania Constantini was ranked in the top 10. So going into the first slam this year, she's ranked number 16. This is a pool that last year wouldn't have been possible with how those teams were coming into the slams ranked. So yeah, I agree. Very tricky Pool A right off the hop. Now Pool B, we've got Rachel Homan, who draws 2 of the lower seeds. She drew the lowest seed in pot 2 and the lowest seed in pot 3 in Isabella Vrano and Sayaka Yoshimura, but then draws the top seed in pot 4 in Kayla Skurlik.
Yeah, I think that I'm actually really looking forward to watching Skurlik this year. I know that they've put in lots of time and they have a great coach in Shannon Kleibrink. I think they're one of the best up and coming teams that we got in our country. So, I know that they'll be, obviously it's Olympic trials year here in Canada. So they're going to really want to prove what they can do here early in the season. But yeah, I think that's a well-balanced pool. Rana, I think, they're capable of being excellent, as we've seen. I think they won a slam. What was that, a couple years ago?
Yeah, they won the players. Yep.
So they've won a slam before, but sometimes they can struggle in a slam as well. So I think you'll see some good balance in that pool, and it's almost impossible to pick who's going to be coming out of these pools.
Yeah, totally. I think, obviously we'd favor Rachel Homan, qualified in every slam last year, made the finals in all of them as well. But yeah, Yoshimura, one of those teams, started last year in tier 2, made the tier 2 final, which they lost to Christina Black, but it didn't matter because just making it to that final gave them enough points that they were in the rest of the tier 1 slams, and had a great year. And as we know, the Japanese Olympic trials are coming up, and that women's competition is going to be fierce, with obviously Tabata, Yoshimura, and Fujisawa, but also Team Ueno, who are just outside the top 16 right now. It's going to be a real battle. Okay, let's move over to Pool C. And as we said, it's going to be Korea night probably a few times. We had a Korea night at the Players' Championship in Toronto, but now we've got all 3 South Korean teams in the same pool: Eunjung Kim, Sungyoon Ha, Eunji Kim, and then Christina Black rounding it out with the first tier 1 slam she has made without winning a tier 2. We know last year she did make it into the slam in St. John's, but it was on virtue of winning the tier 2. But this year, number 15 in the world, her first direct entry into a slam. How do you like her chances against the 3 South Korean teams, John?
Well, I know they've been really working hard in the off season. I've been following them on social there, and looks like they've been really digging deep. So I'm a big fan of Team Black. I just love the energy they bring. I love how, like, they're exciting to watch. I watch them a lot of Scotties when they're playing, and they're in tough. The Asian nations, especially Korea, has really upped their game in the last half decade in curling. So they're in tough, but it's anything can happen at these slams, and I know they've been working real hard in this off season. So I'll have a little bit of a bias pulling for them.
And finally, Pool D, another very Asian influenced pool. We've got Satsuki Fujisawa, Momoha Tabata, and Rui Wong making her slam debut, joining the last team to win a slam, the Players' Championship winners in Team Silvana Tirinzoni. John, I know it's been a long time for you, but think back to your first Grand Slam. What is going through these teams' minds, coming over and being in this? Because I believe Wong wasn't even in the tier 2 last year. So really they were the world bronze medalists, but now their very first Grand Slam. What is that like, going into your first huge event like this?
Well, I'm sure they're pumped. I remember my first slam, and it was, I don't even think I slept for a few days before that slam. And I think that one really cool thing about this team, it's Wong, it's not Wang, out of
Wong,
China.
Yeah.
Wong out of China. I watched them in those Worlds last year, and holy smokes, did they make some great shots at the end of that tournament. And the crazy thing about it was they had to make the Olympics, right?
Yes.
And they made some highlight reel shots that some angle raise doubles, and so they got talent, and they've kind of been probably like flying under the radar, because China hasn't been a big part of the whole world curling situation over the last couple of years. But they came out last year with a vengeance, and I got to say, I know they'd be a lower seed in this, but I would not be writing them off. They'll be, I'm sure they'll be bringing it in, and they'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, as we can see, debuting in their first slam at number 14. So this wasn't like a sneak-in situation. They didn't have to win a tier 2 to get here. They very good team. And as you said, John, if they didn't win that bronze medal game, would have had to go through the Olympic qualification event in December just to get a spot in the Olympics. But by winning that bronze, they sewed it up. And so there you have it. Those are the 4 pools for the women's side of things at the Masters coming up in London. And now we're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to switch over to the men's side. Don't go anywhere. Okay, well, we saw how the women's draw shaped up. Now it is time to take a look at the men's draw. This will follow exactly the same format as the women's. We've got 4 pots, all divided by world ranking. The teams cannot be in the same pool as someone else from their pot, so they will go to the leftmost pool as John draws them out of the bingo tumbler. And John, I'll say this just before we do the men's draw, and I'm going to go through the seeds here in a minute. There's going to be some interesting pools here, because we have a few men's teams here that we are not used to seeing ranked as low as they are. We've got Brad Guju at number 7, so he's in pot 2. And we have Nicholas Adine at number 13, so he's all the way in pot 4. We could end up with a real group of death here.
And you know what? That's just a testament to the slams and the way curling's gone in the world now. Is that, if you rewinded 10, even 20 years ago, your top 4 seeds, there's a very good chance one of them's winning that slam on the regular. But now there's so much, like there's so little that's separating number 3 seed from number 11 seed that it could be anyone's game. And I think that's also what is a bit more exciting for the fans, is that it's no longer a 2 or 3 horse race. It's now maybe a 7 or 8 horse race that legit have a chance to win the slams. And I think that's probably a good sign that curling's doing well around the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's take a look at these pots. Again, teams that are in the same pot cannot end up in the same pool together. Pot 1, of course, we're starting with a very familiar face at the top. He won 4 of the 5 Grand Slams last year, but the Masters was the only one he didn't win. So he'll be looking for some revenge in London. Bruce Mowat at number 1, Yannick Schwaller, world silver medalist, also the runner-up at the Players' Championship. And he himself still looking for his first Grand Slam title there at number 2. Brad Jacobs, off the strength of their great year last year, at number 3, and fellow Canadian Matt Dunstone rounding out pot 1 at number 4. In pot 2, we have first-time Grand Slam winner who won at the Masters last year, so is the defending champion, Ross White at number 5, Mike McEwen at number 6. As we said earlier, Brad Gushue sliding down to number 7. And then at number 8, sort of the surprise of the slams last year, the German team, Mark Muscadovitz, was in the tier 2, didn't win, but managed to find his way into the tier 1 slams, made the playoffs at a couple last year. Very solid team from Germany. In pot 3, we have Marco Husley, fresh off of their win this weekend at the Baden Masters, the season opening event for a lot of the European teams. John Epping, another team that had a huge surge up the standings last year, started the year in the high 20s. They're now ranked number 10. Joel Retornaz from Italy at number 11 in pot 3, a multiple-time Grand Slam champion, also someone who could create a potential group of death. And then Corey Dropkin, the U.S. champions, at number 12. And then in pot 4, as we said, Nicholas Edin at number 13. Magnus Romsfjell, who was in and out of the slams last year, is at number 14. Rylan Kleider, same thing, played in a couple slams last year, missed a couple last year, is in at number 15. And another slam debutante, also from China. They had a great year last year and a great run at the Men's Worlds as well. Xiaoming Zhu is at number 16. Okay, John, let's kick us off. Pull the first number out of the tumbler and let's see where things
on the road here. Number 2 seed to start us off.
Starting us off, Yannick Schwaller will be in Pool A.
Followed by the number 7 seed.
Number 7. So Brad Gushue will be joining Yannick Schwaller in Pool A.
Number 8 seed.
Okay, so that's Muscadovitz, is in the same pool as Gushue, so he will start Pool B.
Followed by the number 1 seed. The Scots are up here.
All right, so Bruce Mowat will join Mark Muscadovitz in Pool B.
Number 11 seed.
11, Joel Retornaz. They're the first team out of pot 3, so they will start us in Pool C.
And the 6 seed.
6, Mike McEwen. So they're the third team out of pot 2, so that means McEwen will be in Pool C. And by default will mean Ross White will end up in Pool D.
And the number 9 seed.
Number 9, Marco Husley. They're the second team out of pot 3, so they will be going to... oh, wait, sorry. I screwed this up. This is on me.
I was going to say Retornaz is actually going to B, isn't he?
No, he's going to A. He's going to A. Yeah.
That's why we're able to edit.
Yeah, that's fine. That's on me. Okay, so we got Retornaz in Pool A and Husley in Pool B. But we do have McEwen in Pool C. Okay. Hey, this is the first time we've ever done this. It's a good thing we figured it out now and not at the end. I was like, first team out of pot 3, so he goes to the first open pool. No, that's not how it works at all.
All right, you ready for another one?
I am.
Number 16.
Okay, 16. So that's Xiaoming Zhu, and they are the first team out of pot 4. And so welcome to your first slam, team from China. You get Yannick Schwaller, Brad Guzhu, and Joel Retornaz. Congratulations.
Got some heat there. They got some heat.
That is some heat. That is some heat.
Lucky number 13.
Okay, so that is Nicholas Adine. So Adine will complete Pool B. So it'll be Mark Muscadovitz, Bruce Mowat, Marco Husley, and Nicholas Adine in Pool B.
Okay. Followed by number 4.
Number 4, Matt Dunstone will join Mike McEwen in Pool C. Very Canadian flavored thus far. That could be an all-Canadian pool if Epping and Kleider end up there.
Number 14.
Number 14, so that's Magnus Romsfjell. So he will ruin our hopes of an all-Canadian pool. He'll be joining McEwen and Dunstone in Pool C, which should mean Ryland Kleider is in Pool D.
So we got number 15 next.
Number 15 is Ryland Kleider. So Ryland Kleider will start off Pool D for us. But we do know that Jacobs and White will also end up there.
Okay, and we got number 3.
Number
Jacobs
3 is
in there.
Jacobs. Yep.
And then we got number 12.
Number 12, Corey Dropkin will complete Pool C. Okay.
And then our last 2, we got number 10.
Yep, John Epping. And it should be John Epping and Ross White.
And number 5, yeah, or the defending champs.
Yeah. All right, so we had a little hiccup, but those are your completed men's pools. So John will once again analyze these pools for the fans. In Pool A, again, we kind of called there might be a pool of death, and it might be the Chinese team that's trapped in there. Xiaoming Zhe. We've got Yannick Schwaller, Brad Guzhu, Joel Retornaz, and Team Shu. John, your thoughts on having to make your slam debut against those 3 teams?
Yeah, that's a tough pool, I got to say. Like, you know, same thing with the Italian men's team with Retornaz. They had kind of had a down year last year, dropped a few spots, and but they're, you know, they're hosting the Olympics this year. You know, they've been working hard in the off season. Same thing with Gushu. They kind of had a bit of a down year for, you know, for their expectations, and I bet they'll be coming back strong this year. So, and you know, Schwaller, they put together that super team in Switzerland, and geez, I don't know. The only wild card there is Zhu. I haven't watched him a ton. But knowing what the ladies team did, and you know, like that's going to be a pool. That's going to be quite the pool.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And we know Brad Guzhu came out at the end of last season, said he was injured for a good portion of the season. When he was healthy last year, made a couple slam finals in a row to start the year. Brad Guzhu, one of those guys, very dangerous coming out of the summer break, rested and healthy. And as you said, looking to, you know, get back to the top of the sport where they were. And I think fair to say, John, too, they've had a summer now with Brendan Botcher, knowing he'll be on the team in the fall. It's kind of like that thing when a player gets injured and misses preseason, you know, and then they take a little while to get their legs underneath them. I feel like that kind of happened with Brendan last year, but that won't be the same thing this year.
No, I think they're going to be scary. And I'll tell you what, those Olympic trials in November are sure going to be fun to watch.
Yeah,
because there's about 4 teams for sure that can really, any of those teams can win it. So I'll be tuned in.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So Pool B, all European, maybe giving us a little preview of what a Rock League team out of Europe might look like. We know there's going to be 2 European teams, and I would imagine some of the players will be coming from these squads. We've got Mark Muscadovitz from Germany, Bruce Mowat from Scotland, Marco Husley from Switzerland, and Nicholas Adine from Sweden. So 4 European teams from 4 different countries. John, what do you think of this pool?
Yeah, this is you know, like Adine is a perfect example of it. You know, no one plays better slam ice than Nicholas Adine in his heyday. You know, so they're going to be scary, and they're coming into an Olympic year, and you know, he's kind of getting, I don't know, maybe near the tail end of his career. So you know, he wants to get as many slam wins as he can under his belt. But the team I've been impressed with this year is that Hosley team. I think they just knocked off a couple big juggernauts to win that Spiel in Switzerland. So
Yeah.
it's hard to tell well, obviously Mo is the favorite in this pool, but
Yeah.
out of the next three, it's going to be hard to tell who's going to be coming out of there.
Well, that'll be a semifinal rematch from Baden, and Marco Husley defeated Bruce Mowat 8-0. You don't see Bruce Mowat put a 0 on the scoreboard too often. And you definitely don't see him lose. You don't see him lose that often, but you certainly don't see him lose 8-0 very often. So, yeah, Bruce Mowat will be looking for revenge in London. We move over to Pool C, and this one's got a bit of a North American flavor with Mike McEwen, Matt Dunstone, Magnus Romsfjell, and Corey Dropkin rounding out that pool. John, what do you think of that on first glance?
Well, I love seeing the Americans get in there with Dropkins. Always been a good friend of mine and a great young player out of the U.S. So I know they worked really hard at getting back in the slams last year. They were kind of on the cusp of getting into a few. They finally got into a couple and were able to qualify. So they'll be working harder than anyone in the off season. And I wouldn't be surprised if they can emerge maybe out of the second team from that pool. It's going to be interesting to see, the Dunstone. I can't say too much about Ramsfeld. Don't know them too well, but I do know that, McEwen and Dunstone, it's going to be interesting to see who's been working hardest in the off season and who's even had ice yet. A lot of these, sometimes you don't even have ice yet in Manitoba and Saskatchewan until like middle to late September here. So it'll be interesting to see who's sharp and ready early in the season between those two teams.
Yeah, we definitely know sometimes Canadian teams can struggle out of the gate at the first slam of the year. So we'll see how those two teams do. Magnus Romsfjell will be in the Olympics in February. They got through the front door after a nice performance at Worlds. A team I really enjoy watching, some real characters on that team, John. I think, at the Grand Slam of Karaoke, we've seen Martin Sessaker get up on stage a few times. And yeah, they're just a really fun team, good group of guys. And I just like seeing them grow. I think they're gonna be in a good spot in that Pool C. And finally, Pool D, rounding it off with almost an all-Canadian pool. Ross White, the only non-Canadian team in this one. We've got Rylan Kleider, Brad Jacobs, John Epping, 3 teams we will see at the Canadian Olympic Trials in November. And then, as we said, the defending champion coming off of his first Grand Slam win at the Masters in Guelph in January is Ross White. John, what do you like here? Obviously, Jacobs and White is a game right away that you're excited to see, I think, if you're a curling fan.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a battle of the two juggernauts in that pool between Jacobs and White, which I'm sure it'll be kind of prime time for that. But I'm actually pretty pumped to see a Sasky boy in the mix here. It's been a while since we've had a good old Sasky team in here. I know the Kleiders team has been working real hard, so it's good seeing some more green machine in there, and I'm sure they'll be working hard for their first slam. And another good story for Johnny Epping. I know that he struggled, had a couple of tough years there. I know they were, I think you said something like low 20s as a seed.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see them bounce back. I know that they sure had a great season last year, and they're it's amazing what you can do when you got a lot of motivation and trying to prove a few people wrong. And I know that with Johnny, I think there were some whispers of him maybe not having it anymore, and he really kind of proved that wrong last year. So I think this is going to be a good pool to watch, and pretty good chance there's going to be at least one Canadian team coming out of that pool. What do you think, Colin?
I think the odds are pretty strong. You're definitely right. And yeah, I agree. Really fun to watch John Epping ascend last year. I think the Horgan brothers have been a great fit for him. He played really well at the Players. There was a scenario where if he won the Players, because Brad Guzhu had missed the playoffs, he could have actually got one of those wild card spots to the Brier. So that was a really fun thing. It obviously didn't pan out for him. He lost in the quarterfinals in that event, but it was still super fun to watch him. He was definitely the hometown favorite in Toronto, and I can only imagine he will also be a huge fan favorite in London, not too far from Toronto. The fans love him there. And yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun to watch. Tickets are still available for that event coming up in the third week of September. Johnny and I will be there. We hope you'll be there too. John, any final thoughts as we prepare now? We're on the home stretch, about a month away from the Masters. Now that you've seen the pools, what are you most excited for?
No, I think we just got a great Grand Slam season lined up here. I know London and Lowtown is they're going to be having a riot down there. I heard a rumor that the Banana fans are going to be out. in full action again. So I'm pretty excited about watching them do their thing. And yeah, just really excited about this season. I think we're going to a couple new spots. So we're going to this brand new facility for the Players Championship in Steinbach, Manitoba, that we're really excited about. We're kind of doing, we introduced the Grand Slam of karaoke last year. So I'm going to chat a little bit about that because, I had a great time doing that. This year, we're actually going to be including like the tier twos, and even at the junior slam, we're going to be getting them involved in some of the fun and with the karaoke. So come watch your favorite curlers battle it out on the ice and stay for the entertainment and the great time the party we're going to be throwing afterwards. So if you're in any of these cities that we're going to be going to this year, I highly recommend. You don't want to miss this action. And looking forward to a heck of a season.
Yeah, likewise. And London also, a few unique things. We obviously announced that there's going to be 3 tier 2 events this year, as you mentioned, John. One of them will be a junior tier 2 event. We're going to have a U15 and a U25 event in Nisku. But in London, there is also a tier 2 event happening. And on top of that, the first ever GSOC wheelchair curling invitational. So in London, when you go to the final day, you're not only going to get treated to the tier 1 finals as you would expect, but in the Western Fair Sports Center in London, you'll also get to see the final of the tier 2. The tier 2 is going to be contested at nearby curling club, but you'll be able to see the final, and you'll also get to see the final of the wheelchair curling invitational, all happening at the same time. So lots to look forward to in London, as you said, John, with the Grand Slam of karaoke, new formats, Rock League, tons of stuff to look forward to on the Grand Slam of curling calendar. We do hope you'll join us in London. Tickets are available at the grandslamofcurling.com. You can just click the buy tickets link in the top right-hand corner. There's full event passes, single draw passes. We'd love to see you there in London. And as you said, John, throughout the rest of the season, we'll be in Nisku and Saskatoon and Steinbach. And of course, our American debut in Tahoe in November. So lots to look forward to. John, thank you so much for joining me here on the Broom Brothers. Thanks to the fans for tuning in as well for the first ever live draft, pot style, World Cup style here for the Masters. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back here very soon with our final Rock League captain interview with Chinami. Looking very much forward to that as well. So thank you so much. Keep it locked. Curling season is just around the corner. We can't wait. We'll see you later.